So listen, if somebody gives me a 3-year, $50 million contract, I don't want to go anywhere. That's number one. Number two, I do look around the quarterback room, and I do look around what other teams do have, and I do see Andy Reid leaving the state of Pennsylvania to find a new spot and, reimagining his entire career after the age of 50. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see what else could possibly be out there if I'm Mike Tomlin. Does he not think that at all? Does he not sit there and think that at all, Gerry? Do you?
Rich, I can't speak to that. But I wouldn't sit here and say he doesn't think that. I mean, the kind of flip side of that is, this will be his 19th year. He's closing in on Chuck Noll territory, believe that or not. Chuck Noll was here 23 years. At some point, to me, the Steelers have to ask themselves, this has nothing to do with whether Mike Tomlin's a good coach. That's not even debatable. We know his credentials and, likely a Hall of Fame coach one day, but that's not at issue here. What is at issue is the same things keep happening. These late season swoons, failures to win a playoff game. That's 6 in a row. It ties the Dolphins for the most among active teams. 8 years without a playoff win, going back to 1972, their first playoff victory. That's the longest drought they've ever had. And it's getting blown out in these games, Rich, 63-0. They've been outscored in the first quarter of the past 5 playoff games. I mean, they are going into these games and playing as though they are not prepared. Use whatever word or expression you want, that they were flat, that they were out-coached, out-schemed, whatever the case may be, whatever it is. And I can't sit here and put a finger on it, but whatever it is, it keeps happening. And how long are you content to let it keep happening? And that, to me, is the question the Steelers need to ask, although I'm not sure. They might have discussions about it. I'm not sure that's a serious question that will be addressed, though.
And I guess on behalf of all fans that would love an answer, why not? Why take a look? Why not take a look at the last 8 years and say it's just not working? If you're either one, and I know Tomlin said this week that he understands the frustration because he shares it, and that makes complete sense. And he never strikes me as a guy who would just throw his hands up and say, it's just not working here. Like he just wants to dig in deeper and figure out the answer to it. But you look at it, I mean, is Russell Wilson a year older going to be the answer? Is Sam Darnold the answer? If get Aaron Rodgers at age 42, if he wants to keep playing, is he the answer? Because that's the first order of business. Because if the one way to make sure that Derrick Henry doesn't run for all those yards is if you have a lead, right? That the Ravens might not just keep on loading up Lightning McQueen and have him go down the highway, Gerry, right? I mean, like that's what I'm thinking. So what's the answer to all that?
Yeah, and obviously quarterback, most position, not only in the sport, it is most important position in sports. And that you have to figure out, okay, do we want to go forward this way? I think there's a little disconnect between Russell Wilson and the offensive coordinator, the way he wants to play and the way Russell Wilson would like to play. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's the reason for their skid here at the end, because it worked for a good while. For 7 games, it worked very well. They were averaging 28, nearly 29 points with Russell Wilson for that 7-game stretch. All of a sudden, they had an offense, or so we thought, that was the equal of the defense, that could bail the defense out if they had to, as they did in that December 1st game in Cincinnati when they put up 44 points and 520 yards. But did the Steelers, did the offensive scheme, did the formations, did they become predictable? Did their personnel groupings become predictable and start tipping off what they were going to do? Those are all things that were addressed and talked about because it was happening. And so, again, it's hard to put a finger on what it is, but no question, quarterback, number one priority with every football team. That's why teams try to unearth and find the guy that's going to be the guy to take them through the postseason. And the Steelers thought, okay, let's bring in Russell Wilson and see if we can get a playoff victory and maybe get back on the right track. And it didn't happen. And I'm not saying they're just going to give up on it. but it didn't happen. And so now what's the next step? And I can't sit here and tell you for certain what that's going to be, but I'm going to guess that they probably will bring back Justin Fields unless some other team makes him a better offer as a free agent.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.